happens now?
That's better.
See me now?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry, guys. We had a little technical difficulties. I was at a Beth Din, and it took a while for everything.
Rabbi, I'm trying to get a picture here of Basil. It's gone.
Basil's gone.
Yeah. So how do I do it?
On the bottom left-hand corner of your thing, there should be a thing that says
Oh, yes. Hang on.
start video, stop
Ah,
video.
right. Thank you,
Oh,
Rabbi.
there you are. We
I'll
got
go
you.
forward. Thank you.
Very good. Okay, this is excellent. Okay, so going to try to. Today is a very special day because special day because we're now up to the 6th day of creation. We all know how important the 6th day of creation. God was very pleased with the 6th day. He said, "Tov ma'od." It's very good, very good. Very pleased with the creation. So we're also very pleased with being able to talk about the end of the creation. Now, the end of the creation is especially important because it's Yom HaShishi. It's called the 6th day. We all know that Kiddush, the Kiddush that we read on Friday night, we start with Yom HaShishi. Now people wonder why do we start with Yom HaShishi, the 6th day? We should really in Kiddush, we should start Vayechulu Hashemayim v'Aretz v'Chol Tzva'am. And Hashem completed the creation on the 7th day. That's what it's all about, is the 7th day. Why do we mention the 6th day? It's really the end of the previous verse. The previous verse, some people read the whole verse. Vayi'erev vayivoka yom hashishi. And it was an evening and it was a day of the 6th day. And then we say Vayechulu Hashemayim, and then God finished and completed the creation, which was Shabbat, day of rest. So why on Shabbat do we always mention Yom HaShishi? So the Kabbalists say the word Yom HaShishi is really a reminder of God's name. Yud Hey, Yom HaShishi, the 6th day. So the Yud and the Hey, and then the next two words of the beginning of the Kiddush, Vayechulu Hashemayim, is Vav Hey, Vayechulu Hashemayim. So you have Yud and a Hey and a Vav and a Hey. So you have God's name appearing right at the beginning of the holiest ritual of Kiddush. So you have Yom HaShishi, that's Yud and a Hey, and Vayechulu Hashemayim is Vav and Hey. So together you have Yud Kei Vav Kei, which is God's name. So that is very
Is there rice made?
That the
Is there rice
day
made?
ties
You want me to
in
make some rice?
to the Kiddush, to God's name.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, just a second here. That is the one explanation as to why it's so important in Kiddush to mention the 6th day, when we're really speaking about the 7th day, which is Shabbat. Okay, then there's another explanation as to why the 6th day is so important. Some say that the 6th day, there's a Gemara that said the 6th day that we speak about in the creation and in Kiddush, it's a reminder of another 6th day that we know in the history of the world. What happened on the 6th day? Which holiday, Jewish holiday, takes place on a 6th day of the month? Anybody know? Well, we know Sukkot and Pesach, they're on the 15th. But Rosh Hashanah is on the first day.
Shavuot.
Shavuot, right, exactly. Shavuot is on the 6th day of creation. So it's brought down in the Medrash that already when God completed his creation, he made a condition. At the very beginning, he already had the blueprints of the world. The purpose of the world was Shavuot, which is the day of the receiving of the Torah. That's the day we receive the 10 Commandments, was on the 6th day of the month of Sivan. So it sort of alludes, it sort of hints to the crown of creation, the purpose of creation, and that is the Torah. So already on the 6th day of creation, there's already hints of the Torah. And the fact that the Medrash, it says that God made a condition with the world that if the Jewish people will receive the Torah is good. If not, I'll bring you back to nothingness. I'll bring you back to your original state. Wow, God's such a severe God that God's going to destroy the world if the Jews don't accept the Torah. Nah, it's not that God is trying to destroy the world if the Jews don't accept the Torah. But what God is basically saying is that this is the purpose. When you start something, you have a mission statement. The mission statement is Yom HaShishi, the sixth day of the holiday, which is on the sixth day, which is the giving of the Torah, which is already implicit on the first day of creation. What happened on the first day of creation? What happened, on the sixth day of creation? So it says God created the animals, and he also created the humans. Maybe it's a little reminder that a human can be an animal too. Depends how we live. We're all from the same day of creation when the animals were created and the humans were created. So it's our choice whether we're going to be an animal or whether we're going to be a human. If you recall, we spoke at great length about the four kingdoms that God created in this world. The four kingdoms is the kingdom of the inanimate. That's the lowest kingdom. That's like rocks and elements and different inanimate things that God created in this world, the different minerals. And then we have the kingdom of the vegetables, which has minimal amount of life. That's one step up. That, remember, the vegetables and plants and the fruits were created on the third day of creation. That's already a little bit more life, a little bit more freedom. As we see, a rock can't move around, whereas a plant grows. You don't see it growing at any given moment, but if you come back after a year, you'll see it grow. So there's life. And so there is some sort of visual life in a plant. But yet, we said a plant is still limited amount of life because it's limited to one space, and it's not so you can't really see the life. So last week or 2 weeks ago, we learned about the fifth day of creation when Hashem created the birds and the bees. Now, the birds and the fish. That's already a little bit more life. That's already a life that can run around and fly and go everywhere it wants, right? And today he completes the animal kingdom, which is the third kingdom, is the animal kingdom. He completes it in the beginning of the sixth day. And then he moves on from the animal kingdom, and he transitions to the highest kingdom, which is the human kingdom. In the Kabbalah and in the holy books, it calls the human kingdom the kingdom of Medaber, of a speaking species. Even though animals maybe have languages too, and we know that King Solomon knew all the languages of the animals, but it's more like just very basic. And the human being stands out in that the human is called a medaber. We are the species of speech. And we know the power that humans have in speech. As King Solomon says, Achayim va'amav is b'yad halashon. Life and death is in the hands of the tongue. What does it mean in the hands of the tongue? Yeah. It's like in the hands of the tongue. So in other words, you can, with your words, you can either build something or destroy something. Words have an amazing power. You can give your children great confidence with good words, or you could destroy them with negative words. You can build up your spouse and make them feel really good about themselves with some good words, or you can destroy them with some bad words, some negative words, words of negativity. Words have amazing powers. And therefore, the human species who was created on the sixth day is compared to the other species, is called Medaber, because that's our strength lies in our ability to speak and to communicate very accurately, specifically. But most important, as King Solomon says, we need to communicate with positivity. And that's really our free choice. So the fourth species, which is the human species, is the most intelligent of the species. It's the freest of the species. We have free choice, which God gives us. But we're also known as Midaber, as a speaking species. You know that the power of words is with your words, you create your environment. You can walk sometimes into a house where there's happiness and happy words and good words. The house has a good aura about it. In a house where there is negative language, that house is a house with a bad aura. Yeah. Baal Shem Tov once gathered his students together. He was sitting together with the students in shul, and somebody walked in all angry, had a bad day, and he was speaking to his friends about his partners, and he was saying, if I had it my way, he said about his partner, I would rip him up like a fish. Yeah, pretty severe language. Baal Shem Tov heard that. Baal Shem Tov, was a great mystic. He brought all the students together. He said, let's hold hands. And he held all the students together, as he used to do very often. And they were in a circle together, holding hands. And Baal Shem Tov asked the students, what do you see? And they saw this partner being ripped up like a fish. They were able to visualize it in some kind of spiritual way. So Baal Shem Tov says, you see, you never ripped him up like a fish, but when you say it, in some space, in some place, those words have an impact. And don't ever think the words, what's a word? Now, your word is your bond, your word is your power, your word is your strength, and that's what we are known for being midaber. There was another story with a husband and wife, and they lived in a house. The story goes back before the Baal Shem Tov. It was before the Baal Shem Tov. There was someone called Rabbi Baal Shem. Some say it's Rabbi Sirkish, the Bach. So in his town, it was what they said was a haunted house. And how was the house haunted? It was haunted with bad demons, they said, were in the house. And they attributed it, the Rabbi Sirkish, Rabbi Baal Shem said that the reason why the house has demons in it is because there used to be a husband and wife that lived there. They were very, very simple people. And they used to shout at each other and scream at each other every day. And they used to curse each other, every curse in the world. Otherwise, they were nice people. And as a result of that, every time they said a curse, there was another demon that was created in the house, a mystical demon, a negative energy, a negative spirit. By the Chinese, they have the people from the Far East. They have before they move into a house, they go to check the energy level in the house. They call it Xinhua, what it's called, Sanchua, I forget what it's called. Anybody remember what it's called? Huh?
Feng Shui.
What's it called?
Feng Shui.
Yeah, Feng Shui, Feng Shui, yeah. So you have to know the Feng Shui level of the house. So the different things that they have for the spirit in the house, the different the number of the house, and where the stairs are located. But also the idea is that every house has an energy in it, and you can gauge that energy, whether it's a good energy or bad energy. So Rabbi Baal Shem saw that this husband and wife were shouting and cursing each other every day. So the house was filled with demons. And there's a story in the storybooks about how he figured out a way to get rid of the demons. And they knew the only way to get rid of the demons is with the Torah. So they brought the Torah from the shul, and they brought a Torah into the house, and they made a shul out of the house. And they started saying good words of Torah, reading words from the Torah in the house. And that scared away the demons. Suddenly they heard glass break, and all the negative energy left, and everybody lives happily ever after. But the point I'm making is that the words that we use in our home, we think nobody's listening. First of all, your neighbor's listening sometimes. The neighbor's listening, and we can hear you on Zoom sometimes, you know. you think the audio is off, and really it's on. So just be careful. Be careful. But most importantly, the house, it creates a negative energy in the house. The reason why I speak about this is because that's the human person that was born on the sixth day. That's why the sixth day is the pride of creation. It's the human species was created on that day. In fact, the holiest day by the Jews is which day of the year is the high holy days is Rosh Hashanah and Kippur. Rosh Hashanah. Why do we celebrate Rosh Hashanah on the first day of Tishrei? Why is that the beginning of the year? Why is not Yom Kippur the beginning of the year? Why is Pesach not the beginning of the year? Why is it Rosh Hashanah the beginning? Because Rosh Hashanah is the day that the world was created. Now, the world wasn't created, we're told, on Rosh Hashanah. We're told it was created 6 days earlier. Rosh Hashanah is the day of the creation of man. You say, Hayom Haras Olam, this is the day of the creation, but it's what day specifically? It's the day of the creation of Adam and Eve. So that is the most important day of the history of the world, was when the human species was born. There were animals before, there was birds and there was fish, there was vegetables and fruit and everything before. But what is the most important day? Day 6. So now we know 3 things about day 6. We know one thing is Yom HaShishi is the name of God. We know that Yom HaShishi refers to the 6th day when the Torah was given, 6th day of Sivan. And we also know now that Yom HaShishi, the 6th day, is the day of Rosh Hashanah. That is the day of the creation of Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve were created on that day. So it says on that day, God created Adam and Chava. Why is Adam called Adam? Where does the name Adam come from? Because man was created from the dust of the earth. Because it says that Hashem wanted to create the man, and what did he do? He says he created him from the dust of the earth. It's interesting, the animals, it doesn't say were created from the dust of the earth. Neither the birds or the fish. The only being that we say was created from the earth was Adam. And this again is a reminder that a human being, an animal, doesn't have free choice. So it can't be held responsible for anything because they just live according to their nature. Only a human being can go as high as his soul to the heavens, or he can go down to Adamah. He can go down and he can fall low to the earth because he's taken from the earth. Chava, on the other hand, Eve, she wasn't created for the earth. See, the woman was the upgrade. Man was created from the earth, and Eve was created from Adam, from his rib, or separated from him. If it's possible, they were androgynous being, but she was taken from him, right? And her name has nothing to do with earth. Her name in Hebrew is Chava. It's interesting that in English it's Eve. It's a terrible name, Eve. Why terrible? Because Eve comes from the word evil. That's the Christian notion, especially about that the original sin. she was responsible for bringing sin into this world. So that's where Eve comes from. Unless you say Eve is because she was created on the eve of the sixth day. But more likely it comes from that other kind. In Hebrew, the Hebrew name for Eve is Chava. Chava, it's similar to Eve, similar letters in English and Hebrew. Chava, the Torah says, why was she called Chava? Because she was Aim Kol Chai. She was the mother of all of creation. So Adam is called Adam because he's taken from the earth. Eve, Chava, is called Chava she is the mother of all of creation. Chava means she gives life. Like Chaya means life. Chava means she facilitates life. She is the mother of all the living. That's why she's called Chava. Chava means she brings life into the world. So Adam was created from the earth. Eve was created from Adam. So she is the perfected version of humanity, the woman. Yeah. In fact, the Kabbalah says that when a husband and wife, when they have relations, there are many positions that they can be in, right? So it says that the holiest position, especially in bringing children into the world, is the husband facing downward and the woman facing upward. Why is that? Why does the man face downward? He's lying and facing downward, and the woman is facing upward. Because as we said, everything connects to where it comes from. Adam came from the earth. So he faces, in the act of creation, of bringing new children to the world, he faces his source, which is the earth. He faces towards the earth, right? And Chava, she faces her source, which was from Adam, right? That's where she comes from. But also she's the mother of all living, so for life that's up higher. So she looks upward. Don't ask me too many questions on this particular explanation, but it's brought down in Kabbalah that everything looks to where it came from. Well, we spoke already a lot in this class about the creation of Adam and Eve and how they were created, because there are actually two accounts in creation of how Adam and Eve were created on the sixth day. If you read the Torah carefully, you'll see at the very first time, it says that God created them male and female. But later on, it tells you the whole story that Adam was there, he was all alone, and there was no Chava, there was no Eve. So he said he was wallowing in his loneliness. So God said, it's no good for man to be alone. I'm going to give you a helpmate across you. And God performed a surgery, and he brought Eve out from Adam. Like I said, there's different opinions of how that was, whether the rib was what God created for the rib, or they were maybe pre-connected already at the rib. Now, first time that it mentions Adam and Eve, male and female, he's mentioned that God created the male and female on the sixth day of creation. But if he created male and female, and then he creates Eve from the rib of Adam, so what's happening here? Did he create the male and female? Did he take it from the rib? So that's why many hold that actually Adam and Eve were an androgynous being. They were like Siamese twins. So God did create male and female to start with, but they were connected by the rib, and God made an operation then by the rib. So that way you reconcile the two accounts of creation. The one account where it says God created male and female, and the second account where it says that God cut them at the rib. Okay, so that's very interesting. There is another less known explanation of these two accounts of creation, which is brought in a book called Ben Sira. Ben Sira is one of the biblical works that were never included in the Bible. There are a number of biblical works from the time of the Bible which were fairly well received, but they were never canonized in the Bible. One of these books was called Ben Sira. Some say that it was a child of Jeremiah the prophet. But he wrote a book of great wisdom. It's called Ben Sira, son of Sira. And in this book, he speaks to the fact that there are these two accounts of creation. And he reconciles the two accounts, the one that says male and female are created, and the other account that says that the female was created from the man. And he says that actually there were two women involved. It's quite an original idea. But actually there were two women. Almost like we find that the sun and the moon, they were both too powerful. So God said, we'll need to minimize the moon. And the moon became only a reflective light, not an original light. Almost like the first day of creation, where God created the original light, and God banished that light and only saved it for the world to come. The same is said in Ben Sira about the creation of male and female, that the original woman was a very, very powerful woman, and she was an equal to Adam, both being like givers. And God said, it's not going to work this way. We need to have that the woman should come from the man. And so the first woman was making a lot of trouble in the Garden of Eden because she was a very independent kind of woman, powerful woman. Her name was, according to this, Lilith. And God banished Lilith from the garden and banished her from the world. And she became an angel called Lilith. There's a lot about Lilith in all the Midrashim, but I just want to tell you that Lilith became the official name for the feminist magazine in the 60s, 70s. They started a feminist magazine called Lilith. And it's based on this, that Lilith was this sort of superwoman who the man couldn't take. She was too powerful. And not one that is subservient, but one that is a total feminist and all that. That's what they took as their symbol from this medrash, from this writing in Ben Sira. They writes that there was an original woman. In the Gemara, it says that this woman, she became some kind of an angel, that she takes revenge of men throughout the history. Yeah. And there's a lot of like science fiction stuff written about her and all that. But there is some about it in the Gemara that she goes, not only does she take revenge on the men, but she also snatches kids. And that's why there's a special prayer amulet that's placed on the door when a child is born. It says only the good angels inside, Lilith should stay out. So this tradition exists from a long time ago. And I guess that's how they explain like crib deaths and other kinds of things that nobody was able to explain. There had to be that this was sort of a spiritual thing that was going on. But regardless, there was, according to the Ben Sira, there was an original woman and man. They were created initially as separate beings. And then God recreated the woman from the rib of man. And that way they were like soulmates, as opposed to being two opposing powers, two opposing forces. There are many of these ideas at the beginning of creation. It's almost like a hit and miss. I don't think it's called like not hit and miss. There is like a God doing things and then redoing them. You find numerous things, and we learn about there were worlds that were created before this world, spiritual worlds, where the lights were too great and the vessels were too small, and God had to create then a world, a balanced world. So the same thing is with the relationship of male and female, which was not working. So God redid it so that they really come from one essence, from one person, and that's where the male and female comes from. So that there's a stronger attraction to each other. Anyways, I'm just the mailman. I'm giving you the information, and you can do with it what you want. But it's an interesting stuff. But it's all about all of this happened on the 6th day of creation. By the way, the whole sin with the eating from the tree of knowledge, all that happened on the 6th day, and Adam and Eve were kicked out, all on the 6th day. So we will continue the 6th day. We haven't finished yet the 6th day. We barely touched the surface of the 6th day. So Mitzvah Shem, we will continue, and we wish everybody a good Shabbos, and I hope you enjoy the class. So now we're up to 6th day, and we're going to do a little more on the 6th day, and then obviously we're going to go to Shabbos. Shabbos will all go to sleep. So okay, so wish everybody a good day. It's a special Shabbos, Shabbos Zocher. It's a Shabbos of remembrance. We have to remember that which the Amalekites did to us. It's very important. Many people don't come to shul. Make sure a special effort to come to shul for this Shabbos. To try if you're thinking about going to shul.
Rabbi,
yeah.
Where can we find your shiurim that we missed? Because I missed a few of them due to work, but where can we find them? Or
you can find, it should be in the YouTube of the shul. Go into the shul website and go into the YouTube section, and I think they have all the classes there. Many of the classes are there. Okay.
Thank you so much. Shabbat shalom.
All the best. Any other questions anybody have? Yeah, question, Paul.
Yeah, you mentioned that Adam was the only species from Earth,
right?
And you said that's the proof of free choice. I didn't see the connection.
What I meant by free choice was that God created Adam from the earth, as opposed to animals, to tell man that you can become a piece of earth. You can become like just your body can rot away in the earth. In other words, you come from earth, so you have a choice. Either you can raise yourself to the highest heights, or at the end of the day, you're just a piece of earth. So like a putrid drop, as it says, you always have to know where you come from. What's your source? Where you come from? And even the human being today, it's not coming. They're not coming from intellectual part of the parent, right? They're coming from a putrid drop, a drop of semen, an egg, whatever. It's like we're just like nothings. But it's our choice. If we want, we can elevate ourselves and become like an angel. We can become like our soul and go to the highest of heights, or we can remember where you come from, or you can be just a bucket of earth.
Yeah.
Okay.
We give it a choice. Okay.
Yeah. That's it. Okay. Thank you for bringing it in.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.